Which ad platform is best for freelancers? Whether it's Meta, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google, PPC, one of the others, should you even advertise at all? Everyone's got an opinion, and most freelancers are just guessing. And it's costing you a lot of money if you're one of those who are just guessing whether or not you should be doing any of these or one of those. So in this episode, we're gonna break down all the major platforms, when to use them, when to avoid them, how to figure out the best one for your business. And I'm qualified to talk about this somewhat because I've spent over $1 million of my own money running ads, but that's small potatoes. That's tiny amount of money. That's loser money. My co-host today, Dennis Schneider, he's one of our coaches here. He has spent more than $15 million on ads. He ran a performance marketing agency, meaning he didn't make money unless he performed for his clients. And he got his agency all the way up to $3.6 million. And then he sold that thing off and said, I never want to run a business again. And now he works for me. So hell yeah. Dennis, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here. Excited to talk about the stuff I know because I don't know anything else.
Yeah, he actually runs our ads. So if you've been seeing our ads for like the past 2 months, maybe 3 months by the time this episode airs, then chances are Dennis wrote the ad script, ran all the ads for it. Dennis did it all. And all I can say is it's a huge burden off my shoulders. So thanks, bro. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So he's just a quick thing about Dennis. When I hired him, he was living in Japan. He's from Germany originally. Then we trained him. When we trained him, he's living in like Switzerland, and then now he's living in New Zealand. He's like a true digital nomad. So maybe we'll have a future episode on just like how to be a true digital nomad. But we're not talking about Dennis much more. If you don't give a shit about Dennis, good. We're not going to talk about him anymore. We're going to talk about things you care about, freelancer. By the end, you're going to know exactly which platforms make sense for you and if you should be running ads at all. And one of these will probably surprise you is what my gut tells me. So let's get into this stuff, dude. You're the expert at this. This episode came from conversations we've had with our clients because this sort of stuff comes up all the time, whether they should be using different ad platforms, what makes sense for them, should they be running ads at all? So we're going to cover in this, again, we're going to cover Google PPC, we're going to cover YouTube, we're going to cover LinkedIn, and we're going to cover Meta ads. Those are the 4 biggest main ones. And we're going to start with Google PPC. What is Google PPC, first of all, Dennis, just for anyone who doesn't even follow what that is?
Yeah, Google PPC is basically, if you want to put it in simple terms, it's paying to be placed high on Google search. So whenever someone types anything in Google and searches for whatever he's searching for, the first 3 results are going to be Google PPC. And then there's a bunch more PPC down on the page and on the next pages. But the most relevant are the first top 3. You're basically paying to be ranked high on Google. And it's called PPC because it's pay per click. So you don't pay for impressions. You just pay whenever someone clicks on your ad. That's when you pay a few bucks, depending on how big competition is and all that stuff. Can range from a few cents to $10 and more, depending on the niche you're in.
Got it. And just straight off the bat, what are the pros and cons of Google PPC?
The obvious pro is someone is searching for whatever you're providing, and you're going to show up all the way at the top. So they're already looking for what you're providing, which is great, of course, because they're already pretty far in the sales cycle, interested in what you offer. And another pro is you pay per click. So you don't have the risk of your ad copy is bad and no one clicks, but you pay for impressions and stuff like that, which can be a pro. It can also be a con. It's kind of a mixture.
Don't they use like AI or algorithms or something to even rank who gets shown? Because it's like an auction.
Yeah, it's an auction, exactly. Basically, it's who pays the most per click, who bids the most. It's kind of a bidding system. So the more competition you have, the more expensive it gets. And that's why prices on Google have gone up over the years, and they keep going up. Like when it started, you could buy a click for a few cents. Now, most clicks are like $3 plus at least, more like 5 to 10.
There's some niches where it's like $100 per click or more. You Google like a lawyer, you can do some damage to them by just clicking ads because that's like $100 lost from them.
Yep. People use that as a strategy. No, there's a bunch of stuff in there to prevent click fraud, is what it's called. But yeah, in theory, you can actually do stuff like that.
Back whenever we were the 6-figure home studio, which was like pre-pandemic, I was searching to see who was running PPC ads in the Nashville area for like recording studios. And I found a guy, I liked his ads a lot. So I just like asked him out to lunch and I bought him lunch because I was just like, I wanted to learn what he's doing. I wanted to just meet him. I'm a marketing nerd. So like anybody like that, I just want to get to know and meet. And I paid for his lunch because I was like, I feel bad for clicking your ad and charging you for the click. So I'll buy your lunch.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah. All right. So like, what are some of the cons here then? So like the pros are, again, just to recap, pros are you're harvesting demand, meaning people are out there searching for what it is that you offer. In some cases, not all cases, but we'll get to the cons in a second. And so if people are already searching for it, you could do SEO, which is a long-term game and a lot of work to get your stuff ranked to the top for certain terms. So like if somebody's saying web designer Nashville or whatever they're searching for, you want to maybe show up at the top of that with SEO. Well, if you can't rank for that, or it's too competitive, or you don't know how to rank for that, then you can also just do PPC and your ads will show up above all the search results. So that's kind of cool. But let's talk about some cons now.
There's one obvious con is you can't create demand because you only targeting basically people who the demand's already there. And that's just a tiny, tiny little part of the market is already actively searching for it. So you can't really hook people in or do any proactive marketing. The other really big one is AI is taking over search, which means ads become less relevant because people just go to ChatGPT and search for that kind of stuff.
I'm guilty of that too. Like I've basically, for the most part, stopped using Google, except in rare cases where it's just way easier to hit Command T to open a new tab in Chrome and quickly type out the question or the thing. And it shows the top results almost always AI there too. So it's not even showing ads to me for that. Although I do have ad blockers on. So maybe there are ads on Google now. I don't know. I'm bad with that stuff. I don't want to see ads in those cases. In other cases, I'm the weirdo where all I want to see is ads. So
yeah, in the AI part, since you have ad blocker, I can talk on this because I like seeing ads.
I only block certain sites and Google's one of those and YouTube is one of those as well, I think.
Yeah, but the AI summary basically shows up before the actual ads. So currently AI is in front of the actual ad thing.
Make no mistake, there will be ChatGPT and other generative AI ads in the future. They're trying to prioritize growth and get people hooked on it first before they start charging you money and showing you ads. And you know how it goes. Those who are early in the YouTube days, you know how YouTube is now compared to back then.
Yeah, that's it. And then comparatively, it's just more difficult to stand out because all you have is text. All you have is a copy you write to stand out. There's no video, there's no real images and stuff like that. So you have to have real good copy, which is hard to do if you have competition. So that's a big one too. And in general, to kind of sum that up a little bit, it's usually more expensive than most other platforms to get a click and to actually be successful with it and have a ROAS. It's also more complex than other platforms because like if you think about the bidding, other platforms have bidding systems too, but they're simpler. It's a lot of work that goes into actually running Google Ads and a lot of stuff you have to do and have to test more than other platforms where you have to test too, which makes it harder to learn and to get a ROAS, a good ROAS.
I think one of the big issues that people don't think about when it comes to Google PPC ads is, although it's demand harvesting, meaning, hey, there's demand out there, people are searching for it, it's usually more button seat type work where they don't necessarily care who it is. They just want a button seat. And those type of clients generally aren't a pleasure to work with in most cases. It's not always the case, but in a lot of cases, let's just say you are running a web design agency or you are a well-known music producer and you are still looking for clients to fill in those gaps in your calendar. Well, through Google PPC, you're going to get a lot of like the bottom feeders looking for the $1,000 website or the local band who's trying to hit it big. You know, it's like you're going to get a lot of those out there. And it's not like you can't get qualified clients to there. It's just generally just a different game to be played. And I know this experience because my old co-host, he ran his entire business. Most of his client acquisition was through Google PPC. And he very much ran a button seat kind of gig. It was like he set up his entire business to be wholly automated in the most crazy way possible. Like it's almost like he was a mastering engineer. He wasn't even in the mastering engineering business anymore. He was in the automation business. And he was so good at automating and taking as little time as possible to do the actual work that he could afford to be hired by those bottom feeder clients that are paying $50 to $75 each for a gig, like a tiny amount of money. He just found a way to make that work. So that's the rare exception of it working. And it's still, he built it to be over 6 figures a year.
If you want to put that simple, it's people are looking for a certain service. They don't really look for a solution to a problem. They look for the service itself, which is mostly the bottom of the barrel people that are not willing to pay as much because they don't want your expertise. They just want you to build a website. They just want you to make them master the track.
And if you do this, a lot of times you're going to be lumped in with the Fiverr type people. And a lot of times what you'll see is Fiverr or these other kind of job board platforms are the ones advertising on these sorts of things anyways.
Which drives up the cost per click.
Yep, exactly.
And Fiverr has more money to spend than you do. So
they do. They're like $500 million a year, something like that. I don't remember, probably more now. So that's Google PPC. I can safely say, we don't have any clients using it. Do you know of any freelancers using it successfully currently right now, like as a main acquisition engine?
No, actually not.
Did you use it in your agency?
We did sometimes in very niche cases, but mostly to add it to an existing strategy that was already working on other platforms. That was the main focus. And I think especially for a freelancer who's doing it by himself, it's just too much effort to do that by yourself and manage all that while still running your business and doing what you actually want to do, which is music production or website design and stuff like that. And the creative things you do and not sitting in an ad platform all day looking at
Yeah,
numbers.
Google, from what I've seen, is like a lot more high maintenance and you have to optimize it yourself versus some of the other platforms we're going to talk about where they're kind of self-optimizing. That's a big part of it, is like actually managing the platform. All right, let's talk about platform number 2. So that's Google PPC. Another Google platform we're going to talk about is YouTube. YouTube ads are slightly different. And we already kind of talked about them today, how I have a wonderful ad blocker on, and there's YouTube Premium. So maybe those are things we can talk about within this, but explain the YouTube ads platform or YouTube ads in general for anyone living under a rock.
So yeah, YouTube ads is very similar to search stuff. So because basically YouTube, if you look at it, is the second biggest search engine that's out there. It does belong to Google. So basically, if you put it together, it's one big search engine. But YouTube is the second biggest search engine. So people are also actively looking for stuff. They are looking for solutions to their problem, mostly to DIY the stuff or to get information.
Or just to be entertained these days. Like I probably average like 20, 25 minutes a week, if that, on all social media. Like I'm very diligent about that. But I spend a lot of time on YouTube for my downtime, my like wind down, just entertainment stuff. So I don't even really use it for a search engine that much compared to just like an entertainment engine.
Yeah, I'm the same. I also use it mainly for entertainment stuff. But a lot of people still use it for search engine stuff, and that's what the data shows. But they're basically mostly looking for DIY stuff. So they would be searching for stuff like, how do I mix and master my own song? How to use certain website platforms like Webflow or WordPress or Wix or Squarespace or something like that. So they'll mostly look for stuff like tutorials, information, and specific solutions for specific problems they run into. But also they'll be looking at general stuff that influencers produce. People like Alex Omozi or other business people, Gary Vee and whoever's out there. People also look at that stuff, which makes it a platform that is worth looking at, I would say, for freelancers. But maybe take a step back and get into the explanation part of it, because YouTube ads is kind of a special thing in the whole ad world, because basically, when you run ads on YouTube, the main placement is in front of videos. So when someone starts a video, before the video actually starts, you have an ad going. And the first seconds of the ad are not skippable. So you have to watch for a few seconds until you can actually skip the ad. And then that's when the little button comes up of skipping the ad. So you have a few seconds to hook people in without them being able to jump off, which is a good thing because you can hook them in before they have the opportunity to even exit or scroll past it. But also it works in the same fashion as the other Google product, the PPC stuff. You pay per click, but you also have a bidding war basically going on. And depending on what niche you're in, that can be really expensive. It's usually more expensive than Google even to get a click, Google PPC.
There's the quote, I don't know who said it, probably Abraham Lincoln made the quote. And that is, he who can spend the most on ads will always win. And so it comes down to like, how good are you at monetizing the leads? And that again comes down to how good your funnel is from a conversion metric standpoint. So the higher the conversions, the more you'll be able to make each lead worth. How good is your sales process as far as how many strangers can you turn into clients? How good that number is will determine how much a client is worth. And then the lifetime value of that client. Do they come back to you again and again and again? Or if they're a retainer client, how long do they stick around before they leave you? Like all these sorts of things come up to the big thing of what's my ratio between client acquisition cost or customer acquisition cost or CAC versus LTV. LTV to CAC ratio is kind of the golden ratio, also known as ROAS, ROAS, return on ad spend. So that's why in certain circumstances, some brands and some industries can just afford to spend out the ass for a click or for a view or for high CPMs, meaning cost per milli, meaning how much am I willing to spend to show my ad to 1,000 people? How much is that number? That's a kind of a good number to look at as far as how expensive a platform is or how competitive it is. That's YouTube. And the cool thing about YouTube, I guess you could have talked about this, but I'll bring it up, is it's very much focused on video, right? Where Google PPC is all text. This is all video. There's very little text at play here. There is some copy showing up here and there sometimes, but it's mostly all video and what you say in the video, how you show up in the video. So there's a lot more room for creativity and differentiation from there. How else does this differ from PPC?
The main difference, obviously, is people are looking for videos to solve their problem. If you look at PPC, it's mostly people looking for services, not necessarily their solutions or videos explaining how to solve something. And that's where YouTube differs, which can be good and bad depending on what your service is. But in general, I would say when people are looking for a solution to their problem, it's harder to transition them to a service.
Yeah.
Because they're like, I want to mix and master my song. How do I do it? I want to build my website. How do I do it? It's hard to transition them into, I'm going to build that website for you, and I'm going to mix and master or produce your song for you. That's a hard sell to do because they're already in that state of mind, which means it's a better platform for anything that's more like coaching and consulting type of services, but not as good for actual service providers like most freelancers are. And also, when you're a freelancer and you provide a service, you compete with these people who do the coaching stuff on YouTube a lot, because that's what's a lot on YouTube, especially for these type of things. And that's hard to compete because coaching offers usually have a higher margin than a service.
Let's just say, for example, you're going after B2B. You're a freelancer in the B2B space, meaning business to business. You're going after, let's just say like a $1 to $3 million a year business is what you're shooting for. You may want to target people who are watching Alex Hormozi videos. The problem with that is there's a lot of other businesses out there that also want to target that audience. And those businesses are probably better at monetizing those leads and those clicks than you are as a solo freelancer. So this is similar to one of the other platforms we're going to talk about today. It's like you just can't afford to advertise on there, just straight up, because of the way that it works. It's like part search engine, part demand creation, whereas PPC is demand harvesting. You're just harvesting the demand that's already there. You're just taking the rushing river and you're just channeling a little bit over to your world. Whereas this world is like, I'm going to make my own little pond over here. Like this is like this group of people doing their own thing, and I'm just going to scoop the water out. Like I'm just creating demand for myself in this own little niche pocket. Again, in the B2B world, that's very difficult. In the B2C world, it can work. I could see someone like in the music production space targeting clients on there potentially because it's going to be just cheaper CPMs and less competition, but not always the case. So it could be a case-by-case basis if this is the right platform for you.
Yeah. As with all of these, honestly speaking, all of this is case by case, but there's some general rules that apply to most people.
What sort of issues do we have with YouTube?
First of all, as you kind of said, it's hard to get in. It's more expensive. It's hard to run as well. Kind of similar to Google. It lives in the same ad platform. Like you run it from the same ad platform as Google PPC. It's hard to stand out because there's just a lot of people on YouTube that advertise, are really good at advertising. And there's just a lot of coaching offers that will pay a lot more for a click and for a client than a freelancer and service provider can afford to do.
Not only that, there are like the SaaS or startup world, when they have funding behind it, they may have a horrible LTV compared to your services. They just have a ton of money to burn. So they're just willing to outspend everyone because they're trying to get market share. I'm using that in quotes. They're trying to capture market share. So it's not just coaching offers. Like, Dennis, you see a ton of those because that's the world you're in. And like, you've just seen it a lot. But like in the real world, like I think a lot of it's behind funded companies. Public companies are spending a ton of money. Political ads during political seasons. That sort of stuff will just eat up ad spend in the auctions.
And the auctions on YouTube are a little bit harder to do as well as the Google search and there's other platforms. Because if you think about it, how many videos does one person watch a day? Obviously, there's power users that watch like a bazillion videos a day, but the usual average person is going to maybe watch 2 to 3 videos a day, if at all. So that's 2 to 3 options to show them ads basically in front of the video, which is not a lot of ad space.
They have mid-roll now. So like longer videos will have like multiple mid-roll ads in it.
But most people, if they watch a video, they skip through it. So most people are not going to really watch the mid-roll. They get a pre-roll and then maybe they'll get some other ads in the search and stuff. Of course, there's also videos that you can put ads into the search when someone's searching for something and stuff like that. And recommended videos will have ads in them and so on. But the most efficient one are usually the pre-rolls. It's just hard to get in there and expensive to do so.
Next one's LinkedIn. This is one that I think is interesting to talk about because if you're a freelancer, you're in the B2B space, this seems to make the most sense because you're going after businesses. May not be the case though. So let's just get into what is LinkedIn ads? How does it work compared to the others?
Yeah. So LinkedIn ads, obviously different than search because you're not advertising to anyone who's searching anything. You basically have a social media platform where people are active and they are chatting on there, they're networking on there. They might scroll through the feed, even though it's rare on LinkedIn. But you basically have different parts of ads that go into the feed or that are like direct message ads, basically, which looks like a cold outreach message. It's an ad, basically.
You don't doom scroll on LinkedIn?
Not really.
I want to see all the cringe content of like thought leaders and...
There's a lot of that out there.
Yeah. What my engagement taught me about B2B sales.
So yeah, there's not a lot of scrolling on LinkedIn, which is the main problem that the platform has right now. Is because users don't spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. And that's a problem for the platform because the more time someone spends on the platform, the more ads they can basically display to them, the more ads they can sell, and the more money they can make. So that's a problem that LinkedIn has to solve. They're trying to solve it, but they're not really doing the best job of it as of now. So it's not really getting better right now.
Yeah, what's the monthly average usage on there? Like you gave me a stat earlier that was like kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah, so the average user on LinkedIn spends 45 minutes a month.
45 minutes per month.
Per month. That's 1.5 minutes a day. It's not a lot. And most people just go in there and basically use it to network or to post something. LinkedIn is more of a platform where they rather post something or send someone a message than scroll through content and consume themselves. So it's not really a platform people consume a lot, which makes it hard to, one, get a lot of placements for ads. Like there's not a lot of ad space on LinkedIn, which then makes it expensive. On top of the target groups that are on LinkedIn being expensive already. because it's B2B only, basically. And then on top of that, it's also that people are not really in the state of mind to consume and click stuff, which is a big thing, of course, in displaying ads. If people are not in the state of mind of actually looking for stuff or clicking on ads and watching videos, it's hard to get their attention to watch a video.
Is there any data on like where people use it the most? And the reason I ask this is because like I use it the most when I'm hiring. So like if I'm hiring somebody, I'll be on LinkedIn all the time looking at their accounts, looking at their profiles to see like where they've worked before. Like,
yeah, that's the big ones.
I would imagine if you're looking for a job, you're using LinkedIn a lot then. Is there any data around that?
Yeah, so the stuff that most people use it for is, number one is jobs. So mostly searching for jobs. And then obviously people are hiring. But the second most is networking. So just reaching out to people, finding people that they've met on an event or something. So actively searching for people. But job search is the biggest one. And it's good for hiring. Like you can put job search ads in there. You can post your jobs. So it's very, very good for that.
We get a ton of applicants from LinkedIn for sure. Like one of the job boards we use syndicates out to like LinkedIn Jobs or something. And so we get a bunch of applications from there. But either way, we always ask for the LinkedIn link in the application so we can go check out their profiles and see. I like it better than a resume, to be honest with you. I can learn a lot from someone's LinkedIn profile.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of context as well. And that's the same in the business world. If you want to work with someone and you might want to look at their LinkedIn or they have it linked somewhere, it tells you a lot about the person you might want to work with or might want to hire for a service or whatever. It has a place, but people don't really use it to scroll. And that's, as I said, the big issue that LinkedIn has. That's how the low daily usage time, how that happens. Because people don't go in and doom scroll and get lost in it like they do on other platforms. But they go in there with a specific goal in mind. So they have a goal in mind. They open the app with the goal in mind that they have, which is texting someone, looking for a job, putting a job ad on there or whatever. And they do that thing and then they leave the platform. Because there's no point in scrolling.
What sort of price point, how expensive is it to run ads on LinkedIn?
So on LinkedIn, you have to, if you want to run ads, B2B, even B2C, but it's mostly B2B is obviously more expensive, but you will spend probably $80 and more as a CPM to reach 1,000 people. You'll spend $80 and more just to show your ad. You pay $80 to get 1,000 people into a room that you can talk to. That's basically what you have to imagine it being. And compared to all other ad platforms, that is really expensive. It's not going to get much more expensive than that, except obviously if you advertise in stuff like magazines or some executive marketing website. There's obviously online magazines and blogs that are more expensive, but LinkedIn is one of the most expensive platforms to advertise on, which makes it hard for anyone with a limited budget because you have to spend much more to test your messaging. You have to spend much more to actually reach your audience and all this. So it's just more expensive, especially if you've never run ads before and you don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. You'll spend a lot of money before you even know what's working.
Just to put some in context, $80 CPM, that means you're going to spend roughly, if you have a decent ad, roughly $8 per click, just to get a click. So like, unless you're willing to spend at least $8 to $10 per click, you probably need to stay away from there. And even when you get a click, now you got to hopefully convert them on the next page. And a lot of people, when they first launch something, they'll have a very low conversion rate, 5-10% on their landing page because they haven't nailed in who they're targeting. They haven't nailed in their messaging, like all sorts of things. So now you have like $100 lead. So you can see how expensive this gets. One lead, you don't even have a phone number. That's just an email address. You don't even have like a phone number or an inquiry form or a book call. You've already spent $100. It's cost prohibitive for most people unless they've really dialed things in to do this. And I think part of the issue is just the supply, demand, and balance. LinkedIn has a ton of people that people want to advertise to, a ton of demand for that. Like they command the eyeballs of probably billions of people in the B2B world. So highly valuable. But the supply of actual eyeballs is very low because they're only spending 45 minutes per month on the platform. So much demand, so little supply, that's going to skyrocket the price of what they're going to do. And so it's going to be on the upper end. And it's going to be usually way more than any freelancer can spend. Not to mention you're up against very sophisticated businesses and business owners who are advertising to these executives and employees and all sorts of products and services that they can afford to outspend you because of the way the platform works.
And on top of that, if you want to take that a little bit further, LinkedIn also, due to people not scrolling a lot and not interacting a lot, has limited data about all the users that they have on the platform, especially compared to Meta, which is obviously the biggest platform out there. But they just have less data per user on their platform, which makes it harder for them to display the right ads to the right person. Because other platforms, like Google as well, they have the data on what content are you as a user most likely to interact with. And LinkedIn doesn't have that. So that's the data they're missing, which makes their ad platform not really good. I would say even bad. It's not a very good ad platform because basically, if you think about it, the only thing you can basically target, I mean, they have more data points, but the most basic thing you can target is job title, company, niche. That's what you basically go off.
Obviously, Asian sex come into play as well, but that's like table stakes on any ad platform.
Yeah, agreed. That's what it is on LinkedIn. And there's actually data on like how many data points the ads platforms have on each user that's on the platform. And obviously, the more data the platform has, the better it's going to be at displaying the right ads to that right person. LinkedIn has around 5,000 data points per user on their platform. Sounds a lot until you hear the number that Meta has, which is 52,000 and more per user on their platform. A lot more data to go off. And that includes stuff like search histories, where in the world you are, what you're interested in, what kind of messaging you react to, what you want to hear. If you're a person who's just looking, if you're a person who is actually opting in somewhere and putting his email address, if you're a person that's shopping online a lot or not, that puts their credit card info on random places or does not. So that's all the data that Meta has. And obviously, as an advertiser, your end goal is to actually get leads.
So let's actually get to that. We're talking about Meta right now. So like, let's get to the Meta ads platform. Like we obviously saved this last for a reason. If you can't tell already, it's our favorite platform. But really quick, Meta is more than just Facebook. People think Facebook ads. I'm not going to run Facebook ads. It's only, actually, I don't know why I'm using the Southern accent because that's really who you think of predominantly as like a boomer with a Southern accent talking about Trump or whatever. But you've got Facebook, Instagram Threads now. So like a Twitter kind of competitor, WhatsApp. We were laughing about this. You got the metaverse. I don't know if they run ads in the metaverse or not, but I want to kind of try it.
Probably not very efficient.
But like, let's talk numbers on that. So you talked earlier, it's like, I don't know what LinkedIn's daily active users are. It's probably much, much less.
It is definitely much less. I would have to Google the exact numbers, but it's much less.
Yeah, but the average Meta user uses the platform for about 70 hours a month. And you said, Dennis, that's not even including WhatsApp. That's just on the like core social media platforms. 70 hours a month compared to 45 minutes a month. That's a massive difference. And as of the first quarter of this year, first quarter of 2025, they averaged 3.43 billion daily active users, meaning a third of the world, more than a third of the entire world used a Meta app every day this year so far. That's crazy.
If you want a comparison, I just did a quick Google search. LinkedIn has 134 million daily active users.
Man, the question, what's the difference between a million and a billion?
Too much.
About a billion. It's so far off from a billion that it's 999 million. So it's basically rounded up. It's about a billion is the difference between a million and a billion. So between 100 million and 3.43 billion, that's a big difference, like 20x. It's not quite the same as a million to a billion, but it's still pretty crazy. What are the good things about this? There's obviously going to be some negatives we'll talk over, but what are the good parts of Meta ads?
The obvious good part is Meta has a lot of data. It's probably the ad platform with the most data about the users, and not only about where they work, what they do and all that stuff, but also about how they interact with content and what they want to see, what they don't want to see. So that's a big positive of the Meta platform. And then CPMs are relatively low compared to almost all other platforms. So you're probably starting off with Meta ads. You're going to start off somewhere around like $20 to $30 CPMs in the B2B space. Obviously, B2C, you can get like $9 CPMs or even $5.
Yeah, we've had clients as low as like $8 to $10 CPM, meaning you can show an ad to 1,000 people for like $8, which is compared to 80 on LinkedIn. That's 10 times less. Again, it depends on the niche, but we have seen that.
Yeah, we have seen that, and that sometimes happens. And there's a lot of factors in play that impact CPM, of course.
Yeah, the quality of your ads, how relevant they are, how the messaging is, like all that stuff has more to do with it than anything else. I've seen as high as 100 CPM on Meta before. Like I've seen very high, but it's almost always because the messaging sucks, the creative sucks, the targeting sucks, the offer sucks. Like it's just like a lot of little issues that add up. And then you solve those issues one at a time, and all of a sudden you're down to the 20, 30, 40 range.
Yeah, I recently saw one of our clients' old ads that he was running. He had $130 CPM on Meta.
Was he in an expensive B2B niche?
No, he's a music producer actually. So it's not an expensive. It's usually a very cheaper niche to be in, but his CPM now is like $20. So
okay,
we solved it.
That's still high for that niche. When I was talking about niches that I've seen in the music production niche, I've seen like below 10 multiple times.
That's Meta. It's just very cheap to advertise there compared to other platforms, on top of all the data that you obviously have about people. Plus targeting and ease of use, I would call it. It's way easier to use than almost all other platforms out there. I mean, the interface is still not perfect, but it's easier to use and to run compared to Google and LinkedIn and stuff like that. Basically, in the state we have now, Meta does the majority of targeting and stuff for you. So basically, your ad creative and your messaging create your targeting. So if your messaging is on point, the targeting is basically done for you because the algorithm is that sophisticated. And LinkedIn doesn't have that opportunity to do that. Google obviously works on search terms, same as kind of YouTube, even though there's other options there. But it's just the ease of use compared to other platforms. It doesn't need as much maintenance. You can set up ads. Obviously, you still need to test and still need to do stuff. It's not like it's completely hands-off passive income or whatever. You still have to do shit, but it's just so much easier to use than all the other platforms.
I think the big winner, why Meta wins from an advertising perspective, is because of the amount of data they have. We all know about the Cambridge Analytica scandal that went on like back in the day. They had like way too much information about you, and like our privacy concerns, I understand all of that. But from an advertiser's perspective, that is a gold mine. And like back then, it was the heyday for advertising. It was so awesome back then because I started doing Meta ads around that time, and it was like there were so many more options for targeting, et cetera. But now you have tons of AI and machine learning helping out all the time to make it easier to kind of make up for the fact that they don't at least show you all that data. They still have it. Don't pretend like they don't have that data. They just don't let you know what that data is. I'll give you one example of like how much data they have on you. We've all felt the thing where like you talk about something and then the next day an ad shows up for that. Like that literally happened to me. I was on a date night with my wife for her birthday actually, and we talked about something. And then the next day that came up. I'd never searched for it or anything. It just came up on an ad and you're like, what the hell? Still don't understand what happened there. Let's just say they're listening to our conversation. So maybe that's how they get data from us. But there was a woman who started to get ads for pregnancy related things before she even knew she was pregnant. And it was because of the behaviors and things she had done. Meta could deduce that she was pregnant before she even knew she was. And that's a wild thing to think about. Like they know more about you than you know about yourself sometimes. That's scary.
That's definitely wild.
And you can hate on it all you want, but...
Or you can use it.
You can do both. Advocate for change, advocate for privacy, advocate for like all the things you hate about it to go away, but also profit off of it while you can.
Yep. It's the same thing I do. I'm not that active on social media, but I just like to do it to see what ads are working and what's happening.
And that's the one place where I'm a weirdo. I have a plugin on Chrome where I take off my entire feed and only show ads because sometimes I just want to see ads. I want to see what's working out there, and I'm a nerd like that. Dennis is the same way. I flew him out here to Nashville for a couple of weeks when he was first kind of taking over ads, and just like seeing him obsess over ads too. I was just like, one of us. One of us.
A weird person.
Yeah, a fellow weirdo. But just kind of like talk about the morals of advertising really quick. If you have a massive moral objection over ads, you just shouldn't do them. There's other ways to get clients. There's other ways to generate leads. You don't have to do ads. But generally speaking, from the perspective of how Meta Ads works, it is very good at targeting me with ads that I actually care about. And nothing is more frustrating than watching YouTube on my TV where we're not signed in and it has no data on me and I have to watch ads because there's no ad blocking unless you pay for YouTube Premium on the TV, and seeing ads that I just don't give a shit about. I'm not going to ever go to Taco Bell, so stop showing me Taco Bell ads. Irrelevant ads to me are truly the worst. That's why I hate linear TV. Linear TV ads are non-targeted, non-specific, generic ads in no way, shape, or form that I care about. Whereas Meta ads could show me something I truly care about. That to me is a good thing. So if you are targeting people, Meta will usually put it in front of people who need the thing that you offer. And if you offer a service that you truly believe in and it transforms people's lives or businesses or websites or music or whatever in some positive way, why not put yourself out there in front of them so that you can transform what they're doing in a positive way? That to me is a net positive. The same way we advertise heavily to help freelancers with their client acquisition, because I believe every freelancer who's good at least deserves help with that. And if you're not good, I can't help you. I'm sorry. But yeah, that's like my little tangent on the morality of ads.
Yep, I'd agree. That being said, obviously the most important part in ads is messaging. So
true.
Whatever you do with all the tech, you can be the master of tech. If your messaging is not right, it's not going to work.
Truthfully, Meta ads, you can do what they call wide open targeting now, which means you just target the entire world or an entire state or an entire country. And if you have good enough messaging on your ad, the algorithm will optimize for your people. The term I've heard over and over again is the creative is the targeting, meaning the messaging is the targeting, whichever way you want to put that. It's so easy to target the people now. It's just like put basic filters in, narrow down to a few million people, and Meta will do the rest for you. You don't have to be good at all the tech side of things and finding the right audiences and geeking out on all this stuff. Like we don't really nerd out on the platform itself, Dennis.
And that's what the platform wants. They want to make it as easy to use as possible. They want you to be able to run ads even though you don't know what you're doing, because that's how they make money. It's the same thing where if you look at it, that way, it's like the platform wants you to run ads profitably, which is why they have all the algorithm and help in place, because they want you to make money off of it, because then you spend more in ads and they make more money. So the platform wants you to succeed. And Meta's doing a really good job at this.
If you were walking into a casino and they were like, we want you to win. We want you to win. Yeah. We want you to get like $10 back for every dollar you spend here. We're going to do whatever we can to help you win, buddy. You would probably be at casinos more. I've spent a total of like maybe $100 in my life at casinos, and I've won like $450 back. It's a good return. But that was like a fluke on a Wheel of Fortune game, and like I won a bunch of money on that. It was like after losing $80 to blackjack. I just know not to go to casinos, even though I go to Vegas all the time for like acquisition.com events, spend time with Ramosi out there, and I stay at the Fontainebleau, which is an amazing casino hotel there. And I've spent $0 at the casino, despite staying at the casino multiple times a year. But I have spent a lot of time and effort, energy, and money on Meta ads because it's the slot machine that keeps on paying off. Me and Dennis don't geek out on the Meta ads platform and all the ways to hack it. We geek out on messaging. We geek out on the psychology of things. We geek out on like creatives. That's the stuff we geek out on. And that's the only stuff that really matters in ads, no matter what platform you use. And if you suck at that, no ad platform will work for you. That's basically it.
Yeah, a little comparison of the platforms. If you imagine you pay a certain fee to speak in front of a room of relevant people for you. You give them, let's say on Meta, you give them $20 and they fill a room of 1,000 people for you, and you can hold a presentation in front of these people.
Or you can just manically shout out them and say, buy my you can do whatever you want. It's your crowd now, but
exactly. Yeah. You just buy the eyeballs basically, and it's your crowd, and you can tell them whatever you want. And on Meta, you pay $20 for it. On LinkedIn, you pay $80 for it. And on Google, you just have to be lucky that people are going to walk into your room. You just pay for every person that walks in. But the messaging is what you control and what's going to, in the end, make and break it. With Meta platforms, you can just test more messaging and find the right messaging. Like you can test your messaging 4 times for the one time you could do it on LinkedIn for the same amount of money. So that's just the power of cheaper CPM, basically, and more data, more relevant people.
And a better platform. So like what we do with our clients is we'll rapidly test a bunch of different ad hooks is what we call them. Like the hooks are like what do you say at the beginning of an ad to see what people most respond to. And then we see, again, can we push the dollar all the way down the funnel to the end where you get a return on ad spend? And then once you figure that out, you could theoretically take that message to any other ad platform to see how it performs. Now, in most cases, people don't want to do that because like getting one ad platform is enough work. And truthfully, like how many clients do you need a year as a freelancer to make 6 figures or multiple 6 figures? Like no more than 100, that's for sure. No more than 100 clients, probably less than 50 a year or even 10, depending on what niche you're in. You don't need multiple platforms to do that. We bring in hundreds of clients a year just with Meta alone. And only now we're kind of venturing out to something like YouTube.
Which is one of the reasons to hedge the risk of Meta ads performance going down, because there's always a risk involved and stuff. And if you have employees like you do now, you have to make sure that that risk is as low as possible. So at a certain point, when you have employees to take care of and stuff like that, you have to think about adding other platforms to diminish the risk. But in general, we could just probably scale to 6, 7, 8 times the company we have now just by running more Meta ads and increasing the budget.
Yeah, at this point, our bottleneck as a business is not lead generation. It is not book calls. It is not clients. It's more of the operations side and like growing the team and like making sure you're doing things right, making sure the product's better, like all the sorts of things on that end. So like in most cases for freelancers, I would want that to be the case for you. It's like your bottleneck is not lead generation. It's not bringing in enough eyeballs. It's not staying consistently booked up. It's like the bigger issues that you should be focusing on, which is how do I deliver a better end product for my clients, over deliver, become more efficient on the delivery side without diminishing quality, maximize my ROI. How do I raise rates at the right time? Like those are like the good problems to have. And those are way more fun to deal with than the problems of like, oh, how am I going to pay my rent this month? Like that is a terrible place to be. The question we haven't answered yet is, should you even advertise at all? What situations have you seen or thought of like where it doesn't make sense to advertise? I have a few, but I'm just curious what's on top of mind for you.
Well, I'd say the first thing is if you don't have any type of portfolio yet, if you don't have any experience with your service yet, don't advertise. Because you don't even know if people want what you have to offer. If you don't have a portfolio, people are not going to trust you. You're putting your message out to people who've never heard of you. It's different than getting a referral or something. So that's the big thing. Is like you need a portfolio. You need to actually be good at what you do and can prove that to convert these people. Then obviously you need some sales skills because converting cold traffic into actual clients on a call is harder to do than converting a referral because they're basically sold already. You just have to tell them the price and they're sold.
That's called taking orders. That's not called sales. That's all you're doing is an order taker at that point.
Yeah. And that's one thing that I see with clients over and over. I just had a client recently who he had like 30 something calls he went through, didn't close a single one of them. I reviewed some of his sales calls. 3 days later, he closed, I think, 4 or 5 deals. So it's like, you just got to get better at that. It's a skill you got to train.
And to clarify, he wasn't recording his calls. It was only until the recent calls he recorded that we were able to review them, see the glaring issues of his sales process, and then coach him through it to fix it. So,
which was easy to fix and quick. And now it's working. So that's a big one I see all the time.
Yeah. So for me, like when I say don't do advertising is like, at least not at first, is when you already have some other means of getting traffic to your website, especially like when you're in the early testing phase. So like we'll have a number of clients that'll come in with like a large following somewhere, whether it's social media or YouTube. And ads are wonderful for long-term and they can really supplement what you've done. And especially with retargeting where you're like, hey, you've got like 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. That means that probably hundreds of thousands of people know your face and know who you are. And if you start showing ads, the algorithm's going to catch on that these are people that already know me, or they've already been to my site. I can show ads to those people. That can be a wonderful place for long-term. But if you already have a large following, I wouldn't start with ads. I would try to utilize that large following or that email list or some other marketing asset that you have. On top of that, you mentioned if you don't have a portfolio, also if you're just not good at what you do, like you can have a portfolio out the wazoo, but if it sucks, it's kind of like, just try to sell a box of shit online, put $1 million of ad spend behind it, see how much you can get for it. Like you're not going to get, that analogy's lost because we bleeped it out. So let's just say it's a box of poop. You're selling a box of poop online. How much can you get for that? You could nail the messaging. It's fresh poop. It's organic poop. It's it's not going to sell, man. I'm sorry. No matter what you say or what you do, it's a box of poop. You know, I'm not trying to equate your portfolio to a box of poop, but like read between the lines. Like some people are just not good at what they do. And no matter what we do to market your business, it's not going to work, which is why we reject over half the people that apply for our coaching program at this point. That's not the only reason, but that's a big reason.
One other thing is if you really have zero budget to spare, if you spend $200 this month and then you can't pay rent, you're probably not in a place to run ads yet.
Yeah, I mean, tell that to Alex Ramosi. Like Alex Ramosi, if you've heard his story, like bro was in like so much debt and he was just like, well, I've got a credit card. They haven't closed yet. It's got like a $50K limit. I'm going to go in and just start running ads at like $1,000 a day on it and try to make back a bunch of money. Yeah.
Especially if you had a credit card and put it on the card, you can pre-finance a month or two of ads.
That's risky though.
It is risky.
He was willing to take that risk. He knew what he was selling. He knew the results he had. He's very confident we could do. I think that was around the time that he was just kind of screwed over with his business partner or something. I don't know all the story with it, but I would not recommend that. Okay. In most cases, like have a budget of some sort. It's just kind of like the casino analogy again. It's like, don't gamble what you're not willing to lose. It's the same with ads. Like I wouldn't call it a gamble. It's a calculated bet, but at the same time, you can still lose the bet. Just like in investments, when they're investing in startups or SaaS companies or whatever, they're raising funding, there's just a chance they could still lose it all. A company could go bankrupt. The founder could have done some big scandal or been arrested or something happens where it's a fraud, like Amanda Holmes, is that her name? The girl from the blood company where she was like faking that she could test blood with just a drop of blood. There's a Netflix documentary on it. That kind of stuff can happen and your investment could go to zero, but they spread their risk out enough where they know they're going to get a return in the long term. It's just like that with paid ads. Like you may lose that $100, but if you spend enough groups of $100, you will eventually get something that lands and get a return on that ad spend. But don't spend $100 if you don't have it. That's the big thing.
Yeah. And you still get data from the 100 ads you spend. Even if you don't get the best results yet, you still get data and know what's going to happen. And you can make other assumptions on your business from getting that data. Like maybe your offer sucks and you have to revise it or whatever other stuff there can be wrong, which is what we're there for to help with.
Yeah. So if you are in this position where you're like, I do have a good portfolio. I don't suck at what I do. I'm not a box of poop. I do have a budget to spend towards ads that I'm willing to lose, even if it's a smaller budget. We're happy to help. Like we actually give you $500 ad budget just to get some of the earlier testing stuff out of the way. We'll look at your business. Dennis is one of our 6 coaches right now. We're probably about to bring a 7th on, but we'll look at your business. We'll assess either what's missing, what needs to be fixed, what needs to be added, what needs to be taken away, what order of things need to be done, and the best way to get you a return on your investment with us to help you. We'll pitch you a marketing plan that we think is best suited for you and your needs and what you're trying to accomplish in your business. And it's up to you to either accept that and work with us, or you can reject it and we don't work together. That's how we operate, because we know that if you can agree to this roadmap, then we're going to have a good relationship together. If you argue or don't agree with or whatever, we're probably not a good fit. So that's where we start with everyone. And then from there, we just coach you month to month, no contract, cancel anytime. And we coach you until you either are sick of us or you get a great return and you graduate. Or if we can't get you at least 10K in new clients, then we'll just coach you for free after that. So a lot of cool things with it. Just go to sixfigurecreative.com/coaching, fill out the show application, see if you're a fit, and you can go from there. That's all I got for you today. Dennis, thanks for coming on the show. My German New Zealand friend. We'll see you next week on the 6 Figure Creative Podcast. Peace.